The 5 Principles of Meritocracy, according to Sean Gerard McCloskey in his ebook, Meritocracy, A Revolution of the Mind, a Beginner's Guidebook. Number 1. No nepotism. It's not who your parents are, it's who you are. Number 2. No cronyism. It's not what others can do for you, it's what you can do. Number 3. No discrimination. Sex, race, religion, age, and background are irrelevant. Talent is everything. Number 4. Equal opportunities. You start from the same point as everyone else, and you go as far as your talents can take you. Number 5. Rewarding merit. The highest rewards for the highest achievers. Overall, I don't find much to object to in these principles. As I've stated previously, my disagreement with people who advocate these principles begin when they start promoting authoritarian solutions toward achieving these ideals. My position is that libertarian solutions are more rational, moral, and effective than authoritarian solutions are. I'm going to take these 5 points one by one and offer some general thoughts for you to consider. When it comes to nepotism, simply ask yourself whether this turns up more in government or in business. Hereditary monarchy is the most obvious example of state nepotism. The firstborn prince will become the new king. There's no competition for the throne. It automatically goes to him. In business, it's possible that a business owner may leave his business to his son, but this is really not a problem in a free market. Anyone else is free to start a competing business. Unless the son who inherits his father's business is talented enough to compete in a free market, his business will lose out to other competitors and perhaps ultimately go bankrupt. So a free market will actually punish nepotism and reward merit. The same goes for things like entertainment. Miley Cyrus would probably have never made it if her father weren't a country music star. But there are many other singers who didn't have famous parents. At the end of the day, it comes down to talent. In a free market, people are free to buy records they like and not buy records they don't like. And it isn't a zero-sum game. Yes, having a famous father in the music industry gave Miley Cyrus an advantage that she wouldn't have had without her father. But her advantage doesn't put anyone else at a disadvantage. It isn't as if there are a fixed number of slots available for aspiring singers who are all forced to compete for those slots. And with technology now, almost anyone can write a song, record it, upload it, and sell it as a download. The market doesn't care who your parents were. Personally, it doesn't matter to me that Miley Cyrus had a famous father. All that matters is that her music doesn't appeal to me. So I don't buy her albums or buy tickets to her concerts. Stevie Nicks of Fleetwood Mac was just a waitress before she made it big. No one cared that she didn't have a famous father. They just liked her music. So I say, let's let the market decide. In other words, let's let individuals decide what music they enjoy listening to. Let's let everyone be free to decide if they want to pay to download a song or album and how much they're willing to pay for it. Let people decide who they're willing to pay to see perform live. Billy Ray Cyrus isn't pointing a gun at anyone's head and forcing them to go to his daughter's concert. Cronyism is basically just the same thing as nepotism. Nepotism is basically a specific kind of cronyism. Cronyism goes beyond just family members and includes friends. If you own a hospital and you have the power to decide which doctors to hire, and you choose to hire your best friend's cousin Ralph, the high school dropout who never went to medical school, patients are going to choose to go to a different hospital and see a doctor who is actually qualified. It's really only in the government that you can get away with nepotism and cronyism. If you're a mayor and you have the authority to appoint the next police chief, you might appoint your best friend's cousin Ralph, and he may do a horrible job. And the city will almost certainly suffer as a result of this. But other than vote in a new mayor when it's time for the next election, there's nothing the people can really do. There is no competition. So the problem of nepotism and cronyism only arises when you have a state monopoly over providing some kind of service. This problem doesn't exist in any serious way in a free market. So it's absurd to propose more government as a solution to a problem that's caused by government. Let's just eliminate the government. Or if you think there's a legitimate function of government which can't be carried out by private institutions, let's at least limit the government to only those functions. As far as the police department, a number of private solutions have been proposed. I won't go into them all here. But if you want to end cronyism and nepotism, you should definitely look toward free market solutions, because a free market punishes cronyism and rewards merit. Discrimination is a similar problem. A free market will punish discrimination. Let's take sports as an example. Sports is actually a very interesting example. I say this because, without question, there have been a few team owners who have been exposed as racist. I don't think I need to give examples. I think most people will be familiar with news stories about team owners being caught on tape using racial slurs or saying racist things. So does this mean they discriminate against black players? No. Do they pay blacks less? No. The NBA has a vastly disproportionate number of black players, and many of the highest paid players are black. Let's imagine that the owner of a basketball team is a card-carrying member of the KKK, who absolutely hates blacks and believes that the white race is superior to every other race in every way. Let's imagine that he is so racist he refuses to hire a single black player. He discriminates on the basis of race instead of hiring the best players. I'll let you imagine for yourself how successful his team will be and how much money it will make. Whatever you might think would happen, it's easy to see that this isn't happening. If the government came in and set racial quotas, this would actually hurt blacks, because teams would have to discriminate against many more highly qualified black athletes in order to meet the quota for white, Hispanic, and Asian players, so that the NBA reflects the racial demographics of society. Of course, when blacks are overrepresented in the NBA, this is never assumed to reflect discrimination in favor of blacks. But when blacks are underrepresented in other areas, it's automatically assumed to reflect discrimination against blacks. People who advocate government solutions to discrimination invariably seem to be in favor of quotas. I'm absolutely against quotas. If a disproportionate number of blacks become professional basketball players, and a disproportionate number of Asians earned the highest scores on college entrance exams, this is not evidence of discrimination. It's evidence of racial differences. Am I saying that in a free market people don't discriminate? No, of course they do. A Hispanic restaurant owner may choose to hire only Hispanic cooks and servers, and maybe that isn't fair to the black cook or the white server, who may be more qualified than the Hispanic cooks and servers who are hired on the basis of their race. So if another restaurant, owned by a disabled Asian lesbian woman, hires the black cook and the white server, and the most qualified person for every other job, regardless of their race, gender, religion, or sexual orientation, I would expect that restaurant to make more money. I would expect the racist, Hispanic-owned restaurant to go out of business. That would be true in a free market anyway. In a communist system, where you have only state-owned restaurants, I don't see how you would deal with discrimination except through quota systems. And quota systems are discriminatory. Let's suppose the state-owned restaurant already has an employee pool which is 12% black, which reflects the population which is 12% black. They have a job opening for a new cook, and of all the applicants, the most qualified person for the job is black. But they can't hire her because they've already met their quota for blacks, and they have to hire an Arab. Unfortunately, only one Arab applied for the job. He has no relevant work experience and is actually the least qualified of all the applicants, but he gets the job on the basis of his race. And every other applicant is discriminated against on the basis of their race. How does this help to end discrimination? Ironically, the solution to discrimination is to completely eliminate so-called anti-discrimination laws. Without these laws, will some people discriminate? Yes, and the market will punish them. A free market punishes discrimination based on arbitrary factors such as race, gender, religion, and sexual orientation, and rewards choosing the most meritorious individual. If you're a man-hating feminist who owns an auto repair garage, and you want to hire only female mechanics, go for it. And obviously, women can be excellent mechanics. But if another garage hires the best mechanics, whether they are men or women, and your garage only hires women, whether they're the best mechanics or not, that other shop is going to have a competitive advantage. They're going to do better work, and more customers are going to choose to take their cars there rather than to your garage. Whether you discriminate against women, men, blacks, whites, gay people, straight people, atheists, or Christians, the market will punish you for it. And the person who discriminates only on the basis of merit will be rewarded. Statist solutions will only result in discriminatory quota systems. If you're against discrimination, you should be in favor of the free market. The problem of equal opportunities is a little more difficult. Honestly, I would say it's impossible. We're not all equal. We're all different. We all have different sets of advantages and disadvantages, and many of these are biological. Let's compare Stephen Hawking with Michael Jordan. There's absolutely no possibility that Stephen Hawking could have been given the same opportunity as Michael Jordan to become a basketball star. No amount of taxing the rich would make the slightest bit of difference. Conversely, no amount of taxing the rich would have given Michael Jordan the same opportunity as Stephen Hawking to become one of the world's greatest scientists. Both men have done quite well. Michael Jordan has a higher net worth, but both have done quite well. But I don't think we can think of success in purely financial terms. And I don't think we can think of opportunity in purely financial terms either. Like I said, Stephen Hawking and Michael Jordan had different opportunities in life. How would you actually try to quantify who had greater opportunity, though? Is opportunity measured by how much money your parents have? If Stephen Hawking's parents had been wealthier, would he have had the same opportunity as Michael Jordan to play in the NBA? I've heard several people use the metaphor of a race to speak in terms of everyone starting from the same starting line. But life isn't like a race. We're not all headed toward the same finish line. We're all running different distances in different directions. I'm not sure that it makes sense to speak in terms of starting from the same starting line. If we all had the same finish line that we were all racing toward, then yes, it would make sense to talk about everyone starting from the same starting line. But that isn't the case. If a kid dreams of one day becoming a famous rapper, I don't know how much it would really help him if we taxed Paris Hilton's inheritance. Are the greatest rappers the ones who came from the wealthiest families? If anything, it's quite the opposite. If being a billionaire is your goal in life, then sure, having rich parents gives you a head start in that direction. But is it everyone's goal to be a billionaire? Is that really the best goal? What if someone's goal is to pursue knowledge and understand the universe? If they're deprived of basic needs, such as food, shelter, and clothing, then sure, that could be an obstacle. Although not necessarily. It seems to me that many of the great philosophers of the past lived under great hardship. Many men have actually renounced worldly possessions in order to seek knowledge and wisdom, and viewed material wealth as a barrier to spiritual and intellectual attainment. Would the Buddha have ever become enlightened if he hadn't left the palace? So did being born a prince give him an unfair advantage over any other child whose parents were poor villagers? Jesus said that a rich man is disadvantaged compared to a poor man when it comes to entering into the kingdom of heaven. He says that it's easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter heaven. So what do we really mean when we talk about equal opportunity? Suppose you were a disabled person living during the draft while the Vietnam War was going on. Who is actually disadvantaged? You, or the able-bodied young man who is sent off to die in what many people believe to be an unjustified war? I think there's a danger of focusing too much on economic inequality and forgetting that there are many other forms of inequality. And as I pointed out earlier, it isn't always, or even usually, a zero-sum game. Did Miley Cyrus have an advantage when it comes to being a pop star because of who her dad is? Sure. But does her advantage come at the expense of someone else like Stevie Nicks? No. Does the fact that Paris Hilton inherited money from her parents somehow mean that a kid with an IQ of 180 has any less opportunity to become one of the world's greatest mathematicians? Not at all. They had a different starting line, yes. But they also had a very different finish line. They're not even in the same race. We're not all going to be pop singers or rap artists. We're not all going to be scientists or athletes. We all have different desires and abilities. We may have desires that we lack the abilities to achieve, just genetically. you might not have what it takes to become a top athlete. Taxing rich people isn't going to give you any more opportunity than you already have. If you tax the rich in order to give everyone a free college education, that still wouldn't give everyone equal opportunities, because people have different abilities. People have different IQs. And a rich kid with a low IQ is just not going to graduate medical school and have a successful medical practice, no matter how much money his parents have. Let's assume you have the richest parents in the world, and they're well-connected Ivy League graduates. Let's assume you basically failed out of high school, but they get you into Harvard Law School by using their connections and bribing the right people. Let's say they basically pay the university to allow you to graduate. Let's even assume they manage to help you get a job at a top law firm. You're going to lose cases. Clients aren't going to be willing to pay to have you represent them. The law firm isn't going to keep you around if you're not making them money. And if they do, the law firm is going to lose money and eventually lose their reputation. But if you're a poor kid with a high IQ who studies and gets good grades, you're going to be able to get a merit-based scholarship and student loans. When it comes to starting a business, yes, it helps to have startup capital. But if you have a few $1,000,000 in a bad business model, you're just going to lose a few $1,000,000. On the other hand, if you have no startup capital, but a good business plan, you can go out and find investors. They will invest in you because they know that they will make a return on their investment. So a free market tends to allocate money wisely. A free market means that the most gifted students get loans. If you're a loan company, are you going to loan money to students with low test scores? Probably not, because you'll realize that they will fail out of university and be unable to earn enough money to repay the loan. But you'll be willing to offer a loan to an intelligent and talented student who comes from a poor family because you'll be willing to wager that he or she will be able to graduate, get a good job, and pay back the loan. Now, if I were a millionaire and you came to me asking for a loan to go to college and get an English degree, I might be less likely to invest in your education than if you were getting a degree in biochemistry, because I know there is a higher market demand for biochemists than English teachers. So again, the incentives tend to direct money and resources toward the needs of the market. If you just tax everyone and then spend the same amount of money on every student, you're going to waste a lot of money on people who really have no business being in college in the first place, or on people who are pursuing useless degrees in gender studies. The free market is a much better way of allocating resources. Is it perfect? No. But it's way better than central planning. All I'm advocating is personal responsibility. In a free market system, you're responsible for your own choices. And this should encourage you to make wise choices. If you have to pay for your own college, or if you're going to take out a student loan that you're going to have to pay back, you're going to choose a program that you believe you have the ability to complete and that you believe is going to lead to a worthwhile career. Otherwise, you would be wasting your money. And that's fine, because you would at least be wasting your own money. But if other people are forced by the state to pay for your education, you're wasting other people's money. Other people are being forced to pay for you to flunk out of medical school. Other people are paying for your PhD in theology. Does society really benefit from having more theologians? If you're in favor of free education for everyone, then you're in favor of forcing society to pay for things it doesn't want or need. In a statist system, equal opportunity just ends up meaning that everyone has an equal opportunity to waste other people's money in irresponsible and selfish ways that do not benefit society in any way. As I've said before, I think we should replace the goal of equal opportunity with the goal of sufficient opportunity. We're not all in the same race. We're not all running toward the same finish line. What is your goal? Do you have the ability to reach that goal? Do you have the opportunity? If you don't have the ability, you should pick a different goal. No amount of money stolen from other people by the government through taxation will help you reach that goal if you lack the ability. If you know you have the ability, but lack some opportunity, what specifically would you need in order to be able to reach your goal? Is it money? If so, how much? Some people may not need that same amount of financial investment in order to reach their goals. So economic inequality isn't a problem. It isn't a question of whether someone else inherits more money than you. It's only a question of whether you have what you need to do what you have the desire and ability to do. If you're held back by not having sufficient money or something else, again, you may need to adjust your goals so that your goals or your finish line is within your means. If you lack the money or other resources to achieve your goal, then you should ask yourself who else might be able to provide you with the money or resources you need. But you also have to ask yourself who else will benefit. If you want to do something that will only benefit yourself, then why should anyone else be expected to pay? If you want to do something that will be of benefit to others, others will be willing to provide you with the money and resources you need. Because if they don't, they will miss out on that benefit. And this is where there's some irony in the statement, no cronyism. It's not what others can do for you, it's what you can do. Anyone who truly believes that will love the free market, because the free market is all about what you can do. If you can offer a product or service that other people want, other people will be willing to pay you voluntarily for providing that product or service. And if you can produce a better product than other people who produce similar products, or if you can provide a better service than others who provide similar services, or if you can do it for a better price, you're going to gain a competitive advantage. In other words, you're going to be rewarded. So when we come to the last point about rewarding merit, the free market wins hands down. Socialism, on the other hand, is not about what you can do. It's about what others can do for you. And in my experience, most of the people who advocate so-called meritocracy are focused on what others can do for them. They tend to support Bernie Sanders and free college and all the rest. So this is a completely hypocritical statement for them to make. I'm all for rewarding merit. The free market rewards merit. The welfare state is all about what others can do for you and has nothing whatsoever to do with what you can do. And the so-called meritocracy party movement is all about the welfare state. They claim to synthesize the best parts of capitalism with the best parts of socialism, but really it's just plain socialism. If you think you have the right to decide how to spend the money you earn, you're a capitalist. If you think the state owns your labor, you're a socialist. There are times when you can create a wonderful new system by combining the best things that two different systems have to offer. But there's nothing to be gained by mixing fruit juice with rat poison. Liberty, or capitalism, is fruit juice. State power, or socialism, is rat poison. If meritocracy is a blend of the two, then it's fruit juice with rat poison in it. And this is actually more dangerous than pure rat poison, because no one is likely to ingest pure rat poison. But if you mix it with fruit juice to mask the taste and label it as something else, then someone might drink it and die. If you're against nepotism, cronyism, and discrimination, and if you're for opportunity based on merit, as meritocracy claims, then you need to oppose statism and promote libertarian free market ideas. There's no more to be gained by mixing capitalism with communism than there is to be gained by mixing Islam with science or mathematics. I'm going to keep promoting liberty. And if you're a true advocate of meritocracy, you will too. That's all I've got to say for now. Like, comment, share, subscribe, visit my website, donate, and I'll see you next time. Peace.